Well, guys, thanks for being here. Let's get going here. And we're here for a couple of games. Syracuse and Tennessee is the first game. So, Tim, Tennessee quarterback situation, what do you know?
Well, I'm excited to see how Joey plays in this. Obviously, it's going to be a big transition, but I think one of the things that everybody's always talked about, from Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton, Nico last year, is, it's always about the talent. But one of the things that Hendon did so well wasn't necessarily about the talent. It was about the consistency. I really believe when you're in this offense and you're leading this offense, it starts with a conviction, right? You got to play convicted. You got to throw it on time. Then you got to be a great decision maker, and then you got to be accurate. So I'm really excited to see how Joey plays in those three areas of the game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, Tim. Just the one concern I have is that he has turned the football over quite a bit. And not just interception, but ball security in the pocket. You got to continue to take care of the football. That is the one thing that could give Syracuse.
This offense is critical.
It's super critical. And, everybody talks about throwing the football with Tennessee, but what Tennessee does so well under Josh Heupel is they spread you out to run the football. And so the run game for Tennessee, to me, will be the most important stat. You got to be able to control the football game, control the line of scrimmage, and then that is how you ease Joey Aguilar into it.
I think that's absolutely right. Is you got to get the running game going, but this running game is based on equating numbers.
Yes.
Every play, it's just a math problem. If they're in too high, we're +1 in the run game. If it's post high and they're spreading out, then the run is open. If they're covering down to stop the run, you can be able to hit the swings and the bubbles outside. So this is just so much about decision making and consistency to me, and that opens up the running game to be able to be more consistent in that as well.
Yeah, whenever you're a threat on the outside, like you said, you will see more shell coverage or too high coverage, and then Tennessee's able to run the football effectively. They're pulling guys, and also Joey Aguilar is a good runner with the ball as well. He's sneaky athletic, and so all these different things. I'm just really excited to see this version of Tennessee versus Syracuse this week.
But I also think it's really important to not underestimate Syracuse. This Syracuse team is the team that beat Miami last year in a really good Miami team. It's a team that doesn't quit. They were down 21-0 to Miami. It's a team that spreads it out offensively and gives a lot of different looks. They'll give quad formations 4 to a side. They will change it up. They'll do shifts and motions. It's a defense that isn't the most talented, but they play extremely hard. They bring some unique looks on third down. So this is a really, really good Syracuse team.
Syracuse culture is right.
It
exactly.
is. It's a great
they
culture.
play football the right way. Now, their defensive line, they had a lot of injuries last year, but Syracuse defense was one of the worst defenses at stopping the run last year. So that is why I say Tennessee's run game will be most important, because Syracuse couldn't stop anybody when they actually wanted to run the football. Their best defense was their offense. Playing fast, throwing the ball all around the ballpark, and then making
And then when they get ahead, another team has to play catch up.
Then other teams have to play that fast break offense, that fast break style, and then nobody's running the football well. We're all just throwing it. That's Syracuse's best defense.
And Tennessee can't get away from that. No matter how the game starts, I really don't believe that they should get away from this running game, because, even their start of their pass game, it's just an extended handoff on the outside. And so whether it's actually handing it off to a back, it's Joey running, or it's the swings, all of that is still similar in the sense that we are trying to get our athletes in space and equating numbers based on what they're doing.
With Tim and Roman, let me switch gears. Tim, it is the story of the day in college football tomorrow, and that is the debut of Arch. Nobody better to put it in perspective than you.
Well, I'm excited. I really think that he has an extremely high floor. I think it's one of the highest floors because he can do everything. And I'm excited to see where that ceiling is, because this is someone that, since he first put on a helmet, has had to deal with pressure because he's a Manning. And then with all of the hype, it's just compounded. But I think he's handled it extremely well. His first couple of years at Texas, he said the right things. He's done the right things. He's stepped in and he's played really well when he's gotten opportunities. But he also does everything at least well, right? He runs the football. He can run physically. He can run for speed. He throws it accurately. He's got a strong arm. It's probably not the strongest in the country, but he's someone that there is nothing when you look at his skill set that I don't think he does well. Now we'll see how he's able to lead with all of the pressure, but he's someone that I believe could be really good to great.
The thing I love about Arch Manning is that he's never complained. He didn't complain when he went to Newman and had to back up both of his uncles and his dad, who was a great player at Newman as well. He never complained about all the eyes and all the pressure that everybody's put on him in his journey. He just goes out there and does. He didn't complain when he didn't get to play at Texas early, and everybody said he's supposed to be anointed and supposed to be the new starter for this team. He never said one word. All he did was go out there and do what is asked of him.
Yeah.
And sometimes before you ever lead, you got to serve. And so that is what I've seen out of this young man. All he's ever done is give to everybody else, and I really am looking forward to his ability to continue to grow. He chose to go under Steve Sarkisian for that reason. He's done everything right so far, and I don't think he will disappoint us this weekend as well. All he will do is continue to play well and do what he needs to do for his team.
And I also love the marriage with Arch and Steve Sarkisian.
Yes,
I'm really excited to see what wrinkles they have because he's a little bit of a different style than Quinn was last year, and I think Quinn had a really good season. But I think you're going to see some changes in the offense. I think you'll see more on 3rd and short, giving Arch the ability to use his legs. I think you'll see a little bit more read in there. Not a lot because you don't want to get him hurt, but just enough to keep the defense off balance because he adds a different element into this game. And I'll just echo what you said because he's handled everything so well. Yeah. And the way that he hasn't complained, the way that he praises his teammates, right now in 2025, you just got to be so proud of that young man.
I
agree. The way he's carried himself with so many eyeballs watching him. He's never made it about him. He's made it about the team. He's been humble. And it's hard not to root for the young man.
You know, Tim, it reminds me of, and I don't want to put him in the same category, but when you really appreciate when young people or any person, when they actually can say something, right? They can talk about themselves a lot more, but choose not to.
Yeah.
When Tom Brady goes out of his way to say, introduce himself to you, instead of you trying to go meet Tom Brady, that's what makes you appreciate somebody like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So the same thing can be said about Arch Manning, where he's the one person that could act big time, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
That just kind of shows you who his character is. And so I'm really looking forward to Texas under Arch Manning's quarterbackship, if that's a word. But I want to go on the other side, though, because Ohio State, both of these teams look completely different than when the last time they played. Ohio State defensively, I don't know who's really going to roll out there besides Caleb Downs, the great safety. And then after that, we're going to have to see it all kind of play out. And I think it's going to be a big cat and mouse game early to see what Texas is doing offensively because they're going to look differently. Ohio State defensively, what they're going to be doing. And so this game's going to have some ebbs and flows early, and then whoever makes the first big play, how does the other team respond? I think that is what will determine who will win and who will lose in this game.
And if you're an Ohio State fan, you got to be a little bit nervous of so much of the change, especially defensively.
Yeah.
But the one thing you can count on is Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, both returning and both probably the best in the country at their position.
Yep.
And I'm really excited to see not just how they play, but how they lead. Mm-hmm. Because Caleb Downs is an incredible leader.
I agree.
He's just from when he was at Bama to now, and then Jeremiah Smith, the way that he has also humbly gone about his business as, in my opinion, the best player in the country, even as a freshman, is pretty fascinating to see.
Yeah. Great stuff from both of you guys. We'll obviously hear more tomorrow morning.
Oh, sorry.
Can't
we
wait.
didn't even talk to you, Paul. Sorry. It's okay.
This was
You
my
get a
most
next- you get another
enjoyable segment ever that I could finish up
He's
my
playing
Christmas
solitaire.
shopping over here. That's
He probably is.
Stephen A. Smith during the NBA Finals. Guys, thanks so much. Let's talk about Tennessee and Syracuse. I want to start with Tennessee because that's where all the drama was in the offseason, Lewis. What are you learning all week, talking to players and coaches?
Look, I think we're going to find out a little bit about Joey Aguilar in this game. And I think, look, if you're Josh Heupel, you don't need to come out throwing the ball 40, 50 times and going bombs away, running a bunch of 9 routes and making him have to prove something that maybe he's not ready to prove right now at this point. You know, I think they're going to be good enough up front. I think they're solid at the tackle positions. They've got really nice running backs. And under Josh Heupel, they've run the ball well. It's ever since he's been there. And here's the other thing. They still have a defense, though, Paul, that I think will be as good as any defense in the SEC. They've got playmakers at all 3 levels. They've got NFL bodies all over the field. So I think for Joey, he just needs to go out and say, hey, look, I'm still new to this offense. I just got there June 1. You don't need to prove anything. Just play within the confines of this offense, right, Bob? And then lean on what else they have, which is their strength, which is this running game and that defense.
And Bob, I'm curious about the Syracuse side of it because, I mean, it's easy for Southerners to go, Syracuse, but I saw them play last year against Miami. You've seen them play more than that. I mean, they look like a pretty solid football team.
Oh, they were number 1 in passing last year, but they've lost a lot of what got them there. Obviously, Kyle McCord, the quarterback, the jumping off point. Steve Angeli there's a Jersey kid that comes from Notre Dame and takes over. We haven't really seen him, except if you're ever looking for one very small sample size to say, oh, maybe he can go do this. It's not bad when you come out in the college football playoff and, your quarterback's dinged in the second quarter and you go right down the field and generate the only points that your team scores in the first half and you're 6 of 7 on the drive, cold off the bench on that stage. So we talked to him, right? I mean, he seems pretty unflappable. He seems like he's pretty seasoned. He's a long-time backup, and he's ready for this. But as Lewis said, and I've been listening to him all week, talk to these coaches, talk us through the game. I mean, what are we normally asking? Bigger, faster, stronger? That's Tennessee, right? Like, they're bigger, faster, stronger. So can Syracuse get a couple of takeaways? And maybe Aguilar throws them a couple. He did that at App State. I don't know if they're going to be very competitive in this game if they don't get that.
Look, Paul, you see it every week, right, in the SEC. What does it always come down to? Line of scrimmage play. That's why the SEC, that's why a lot of the P4 schools that are at the very top of those conferences, why they dominate is because they dominate the line of scrimmage. And so, look, Syracuse couldn't run the ball a year ago. That's why Kyle McCord threw it as much as he did, because it was kind of like an extension of the run game. That's how you go over 4K and you break every passing record known to man in Syracuse. If that is the game plan, if that is what they have to wind up resorting to in this game, then what is Tennessee going to do? They're going to unleash a bunch of guys who they have, like Joshua Josephs, who are 6'4", 6'5", 255, who run 4.5 in the 40. And they're just going to go get them. Go get them. Go, and it'll be a wrap. So they better be able to attack the line of scrimmage and be able to protect the quarterback and get some yardage running the ball. And on defense, look, they struggled to stop the run last year. And what does Tennessee do? They can run the ball as good as anyone. You think Josh Heupel, right? You think throwing the football down the field. No, they will bludgeon you. So this is a heck of a test for Syracuse. You're going to find out a little bit about Fran Brown's first year and whether or not it's a building block. They have one of the toughest schedules in college football this year. Find out a lot about Syracuse football.
Well, Fran Brown knows a little bit about the SEC.
Yeah, exactly.
But that doesn't really help in a game like this.
No.
But he knows he doesn't need a GPS to get around Atlanta. Let's talk about Fran for a second, because he's a unique coach who is off to a pretty fast start.
He sure is. Look, I think the thing, and Bob will talk to you about this too, is he's so charismatic. And in college football, one, you better be able to be competitive in the NIL world, number one. We all know that. But two, you better have a coach that can relate to a player both on a athletic standpoint, meaning this is how I can help you become a better player, make more money at this level, at the college level, take care of your money once you get to the NFL level, which Fran does a fantastic job of tutoring guys that way. And you better be able to connect with them, on a humanistic and social level. And Fran is as cool as they come. So what he's doing up there in Syracuse, now they're building new facilities up there too. Hey, you're always going to be at a disadvantage when you're dealing with the big boys and the blue bloods in college football. We know who they are. But if anybody can do it at Syracuse and keep them competitive, it's Fran Brown.
There has to be something kind of special personality-wise, like a light inside of him as well. I'm not sure how many people know the backstory. I was fascinated to learn it myself this week. His mom gave birth to him when she was 13 years old. And he was basically raised by a village, right? He had aunts and uncles that played keeper. His Uncle Charlie basically got him into football and was the one that took him under his wing and brought him to practice. His high school coach took him in for a couple of years because his mom was 13 years old, and so, and even lost his mom before she even hit the age of 50, back about a handful of years ago, to congestive heart failure and kidney disease as well. So to overcome all of that, and all of the different times in his life where maybe he could have been a rudderless ship and to see where he not only had the village that helped raise him take his life, but where he, of course, that light he has inside of him has taken his own life. He's got to be a pretty special guy to overcome, what all of those obstacles to him might have been along the way.
What you can tell is the kids love playing for him. Simple as that. And that's half the battle, because now, as soon as someone kind of tunes you out in college football, it's like, I'm in the portal, dude. I got 2 chances to get in the portal. I'm going to get in there right after the season. I'm going to get in there after spring ball. And I'm at it. Like, it's amazing studying these rosters. And see, I always color code the rosters based upon, like, I give yellow to transfer guys, orange to top level guys, green to guys who are starters, blue to guys who are backups. You know how much yellow is on my board every week? I'm like, where was this guy last year? And where was he the year before that? And where was he? Like, you're learning. Like, there is no carryover from year to year barely. It's an amazing thing.
Before you go, I want just you to break down the quarterbacks tomorrow night in LSU at Clemson, because everybody's fawning over them. I've heard you talk about a few of them before. Share that with us.
With Clemson?
Just both quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think Cade, like he's got everything around him now to accentuate everything that's good about him, which is high football character, super smart, can throw the deep ball, is fearless running the ball, although he needs to maybe be a little bit less fearless so he can save himself. And look, Tebow talks about the guy, he thinks the world of him. And he's got a lot of expectations this year because the team is loaded. I like to say 1 through 53 from an NFL background, but they are loaded. And look, Garrett is as smooth as they come. And he's probably one of my favorites, just the way in which he operates. And we know that his bloodlines lead him to play high-level football with the way his father and what his father's background is. Look, it's interesting. Like, this is one of those where, look, and I know people are going to say, well, Brian Kelly, man, you better not lose on the road. I know, because I know you'll be all over him.
No, not
But you know
me.
what? But you know what? This is really, for me, this is Dabo's time now.
Yeah.
Like, with this roster, you got to run the table, dude. You got to run it. And I love Tebow. You got to run the table.
He's got me confused with somebody else, Bob.
No, I've listened to you enough. I know how you roll, Paul. I know how you roll, but I love it. I listen every day.
We're looking forward to watching the guy we get to watch on Sunday, too. We get to watch a guy playing for South Carolina on Sunday that might end up being the best of the whole group we get to see this weekend. You never know.
He's a stud now.
He's going to be
fun
to watch.
But just talking to him, man, it's hot down here. And I used to live down here. I'm like burning up.
The game's in a dome.
No, it's
I don't want to
amazing.
bust your bubble because I've picked you up in Philadelphia before coming down south.
I know. And you know
this is late spring.
You know, I know. Believe me, and I am soft as they come when it comes to the cold. But man, I'm burning up. But yeah, Lenora Sellers, that kid's the real deal.
Yeah,
real
be
deal.
Fun.
Bob, Lewis, thank you. It's always great to see you both.
Thanks.
Of course.
Hope to see you a lot this year.
You got it.
Take a short break. We're back with Holly Rowe. She's coming to us from Columbus. They got a little bit of a big game up there as well. Laura Rutledge joins us, and we are coming right back. I don't know how she finds time for us on these Friday afternoons, but we are in her debt. Holly, I don't need to ask you how you've been. I see you every night when I'm watching television, so how are you?
I'm wonderful. I had an awesome summer, lots of WNBA, lots of softball, but good time off, and now I'm getting geared up for football. I see those highlights, and I just get so excited.
Well, Holly, I don't think this game will be overlooked tomorrow night because to me it's the best game on the board. But it will get the other game will get a lot of attention in the early morning hours. But give us the lay of the land, what you have discovered all week, talking to both coaches, all the players, and both sides, framing what it's always an amazing scene at Clemson. But tomorrow night ought to be really special.
Well, there's a lot of really fun storylines for this game. First off, who's the real Death Valley? We've got lots of fun things planned on trying to decide, is Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina, or is it in Baton Rouge, Louisiana? I think the play on the field is going to determine a lot of that, so we have some fun storytelling around that. I think the great-great-granddaughter of the man who dubbed Clemson Death Valley is going to be at the game. She's actually a Clemson student, so we hope to bring that information to you. But the other thing I look at is the quarterback play. You know, they have two experienced quarterbacks. These are two highly rated NFL prospects in Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik. And I'm going to start with Cade Klubnik because I went to practice at Clemson yesterday. Paul, he looks so polished. You know, he's a young man that's had a lot of ups and downs in his play. The fans loved him and then they hated him. And he has stayed the course. And I think he's been really terrific. At practice, I thought they had urgent, great tempo with precision. The coaches kept yelling, game reps, game reps. And I felt like that's what their Thursday practice looked like. And then you look at Garrett Nussmeier. He is an absolute pro for LSU. His offensive coordinator, Joe Sloan, said something interesting to us yesterday on our conference call. He said, you know, Garrett has a really high ceiling, but what we're asking him to do this year is to bring his floor up higher. And what he means by that is last year you would get really great Garrett Nussmeier, and then you would get some really devastating turnovers and mistakes. And so they are trying to eliminate, the lows, make sure that he is consistent, that he is, using that kind of gunslinger mentality and making the plays he believes he can, but not making the mistakes that hurt LSU at times last year.
Talking to Holly Rowe, and Holly, those are the stars. Let's talk about the coaches, because you have spent so much time on the sidelines of LSU and Clemson games. You obviously know both these coaches, especially you covering Brian Kelly when he was at Notre Dame. Contrast these two who come from different parts of the world, but both very successful.
Yeah, these are two very different coaches. I would say Brian Kelly is definitely the Northeastern snark and, sarcastic personality. And that's who he is. He's been a terrific coach. I actually go all the way back to when he won a national championship at Grand Valley State with Coach Kelly. So I've watched him a long time. He is a great football coach. He says that this LSU team is deeper and better than any he has coached for the Tigers so far. And that means something. I think when he got there, people forget Ed Orgeron had just been fired. The wheels kind of came off in their recruiting and player evaluation, and then a lot of guys hit the transfer portal. So now Brian Kelly finds himself in a place where he's brought in 18 high-quality transfers. A lot of people think they have the best transfer portal class in America. So how quickly can they gel? I was just listening to some of those guys talk about how good LSU will be and could they win the national championship. And Paul, I'll tell you this. The offensive line is where we have to see how good they are immediately. Right now, as it's laid out on paper, they're starting 2 sophomores and a freshman up front for LSU and then a transfer. So how quickly can they gel? I think that's something people haven't really talked about much with LSU's offensive front.
Holly, that stadium there, I know you've been there so many times, but is it I'm going to put you on the spot. Compare that to the other Death Valley, so we may not settle this once and for all, but you certainly have a pretty good perspective of the sound and how ferocious both feel on the field.
Well, this is kind of a funny story that you will appreciate. So I would say the Baton Rouge Death Valley is the wildest, loudest place I've ever done a college football game. The fans there are unique. The tailgating there is unlike any other I've ever seen anywhere in the world, really. But Clemson is going to allow alcohol sales for the first time in Memorial Stadium on Saturday. So that is a little tidbit of history. So I'm very curious to see how wild and rowdy these Clemson fans get. Clemson is always a good environment. I think they get loud. I think they're into it. It's just different than Baton Rouge. I would say Baton Rouge is a little wilder and crazier and maybe a little bit more fun that way, but that could change on Saturday if people are liquored up,
I guess I know it's available. They don't serve the reporters on the field, do they?
No. Well, not that I know yet. I've never done a game while drinking, but hey, who knows? This might be the one if we're really going to go crazy.
This game may be long enough where you might need one pretty soon afterwards, though.
Yeah, it's fun. This is going to be a long game. I think that both teams are committed to running the football. So, we could have a game where they also pass a lot. Clemson has what I think are the best wide receivers in the country. So, how much do they run it versus, passing games tend to typically go a little bit longer. But we can't go too long because our crew is going straight from Clemson on Saturday night to Chapel Hill. We have to be in Chapel Hill for my very first ever meeting with Bill Belichick on Sunday afternoon at 3:00. So I'm really excited. We get a quick turnaround. Our crew will have TCU at North Carolina on Monday night. So we have like a really cool double dip to start the season, and I'm pretty excited about that.
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let them look right at you.